$8 a day, 5 days a week, comes to a little over $2,000 in a year. Keep that up for 10 years, and you've spent more than $20,000, nearly all of it, without making a single decision, because after the first few weeks, that purchase slipped into your subconscious mind. So the number worth looking at was never $8. It's $8 spent 2,600 times over 10 years. Hi, I'm Andy Temte, and welcome to Money Lessons. Join me every Saturday morning for bite-sized lessons that are designed to improve financial literacy around the world. Today is August the 22nd, 2026. Last week, we looked at decisions, the mental shortcuts that your brain takes when money is on the line, and I asked you to put 24 hours between a big decision and your money. That assignment, however, has a limit. A great deal of the money that leaves your household every month won't pass through a conscious decision at all. It will leave through machinery that got set up a long time ago and hasn't been looked at since. That machinery takes three forms: habits, defaults, and friction. Two of those pieces of machinery get built by other people, and we'll spend next Saturday working on those. Today, we start with the machinery that you've built yourself. Now, in everyday conversation, we call almost anything a habit. If you do it a lot, you call it a habit. But psychologists mean something narrower and more specific when they say the word habit. To a psychologist, a habit is a behavior that you repeat in the same surroundings, the same place, the same time of day, and the same order of steps, until you stop consciously deciding to do whatever that thing is, and your subconscious takes over. That last part carries all the weight, so let me say it plainly. Repeat a behavior enough times in the same surroundings, and it sinks underneath your conscious thinking. The surroundings begin to start the behavior for you, and your conscious mind is rarely consulted, so your surroundings become a trigger. Last week, we met the two speeds of thinking: the fast, automatic type that runs without any effort, and the slow, deliberate type that does the hard work. A habit is a behavior that has been handed over to subconscious, fast thinking permanently. And notice what that means. A habit is not simply a behavior you perform often, it's a behavior that your surroundings trigger for you. Now, in 2002, three psychologists, Wood, Quinn, and Kashey, published a pair of studies in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, and the design was really simple. They handed college students wristwatches that were programmed to chime on the hour. At every chime, the student wrote down two things: what they were doing at that moment and what they were thinking about at that moment. Two findings came out of the studies. First, between a third and half of the behaviors those students recorded were things they did just about every day, usually in the same location. Second, and this is the one that matters for money, while they were performing those repeated behaviors, the students' minds were somewhere else roughly half the time. They were not thinking about what they were doing. They were thinking about something completely unrelated. Now, those were college students tracked over 1 or 2 days, and I'm not going to stretch that into some claim about every adult, and the researchers were careful on that point themselves. So before we go further, I want to head off an impression that's easy to pick up from all of this because it's wrong and it matters. Habits are not a defect. They aren't laziness and they aren't weak character. They are a large part of the reason that you can function at all. The same researchers measured this. When their students were doing habitual things, they reported less stress and less of that feeling of being overwhelmed or out of control than when they were doing unfamiliar things. Deliberate, slow thinking is really expensive. It tires you out, and you only get so much of it every day. Every behavior that you've turned into a habit is a behavior that no longer taxes your brain. That's what habits are for. They buy back energy reserves for your attention so that you can spend that attention on something that needs it. Now, this brings us to money. A money habit works exactly the way the psychologists describe: the coffee bought on the same walk to work, the app that's opened at the same red light that you stopped at, the card that's tapped at the same store on the same day of the week. Here's why a money habit deserves your attention, and it has nothing to do with the size of any single purchase. Small amounts repeated over and over add up to large amounts. Oh my goodness. That is simple arithmetic, not the compounding that we studied late summer of last year, where money earns money and those earnings go on to earn more. Nothing is earning anything extra here. This is plain repetition, and plain repetition by itself is enough to move real money out of your household. Watch. $8 a day, 5 days a week, comes to a little over $2,000 in a year. Keep that up for 10 years, and you've spent more than $20,000, nearly all of it without making a single decision, because after the first few weeks, that purchase slipped into your subconscious mind. So the number worth looking at was never $8. It's $8 spent 2,600 times over 10 years. Now, the sensible next step is to sit down and list your money habits. But there's a problem with that, and it comes straight out of the wristwatch studies. You weren't thinking about those purchases while you made them, and that's precisely what made them habits, which means that your memory didn't file them anywhere that you can readily reach. Ask yourself what you bought on autopilot last month, and you'll produce 2 or 3 obvious ones and miss the rest, not because you're careless, but because there's really nothing there to remember. You can't reliably find a habit by searching your memory. You have to look at the records. And once you've found one, you'll probably reach for willpower to change it. But back on March 22nd of 2025, I recommended James Clear's book on atomic habits, and I'll recommend it again here. Clear's central argument is that willpower is the wrong tool for the job. Trying harder doesn't work because the behavior wasn't coming from your intentions in the first place. It was coming from your surroundings. So change the surroundings. If you want a habit to stick, make the behavior easy. Put the thing where you're going to trip right over it. But if you want a habit to stop, make the behavior hard. Put a few speed bumps in the way. So what does all this mean for you? It means that when you can't explain where your money went, the answer usually isn't some character flaw. It's machinery running quietly in the same places at the same times without asking your conscious permission. So here's your assignment for this week, and it's one thing. Pull up last month's statement, either the credit card that you use most often or your checking account. Read down the list of merchant names and find the one that shows up 4 or more times, or just the one that shows up the most. Say it out loud. Write it down somewhere in big block letters. That's the whole assignment. You're not canceling anything. You're not judging yourself, and you're not adding up what it cost you. You are naming one piece of the machinery that's been running all the time. It may turn out to be something that you're glad to be spending money on. And if it is, Great. A habit you would choose on purpose is a habit that's working for you. Or it may be something you've forgotten you were doing 20 times a month. Either way, you'll know. And you can't change machinery that you haven't resurfaced and identified. Next Saturday, we'll take on the machinery you didn't build, why the choice you never make is still a choice, and why a business will work really hard to remove every speed bump between you and a purchase, and then put those speed bumps right back the moment that you try to cancel. Until next week, I wish you grace, dignity, and compassion. My name is Andy Temte, and this is Money Lessons. You can find the show on all the major streaming services as well as out on YouTube. Please like, subscribe, rate, and most importantly, share this public educational good with your friends, your family, your colleagues, and maybe a neighbor. The show was produced by Nicholas Temte, and we will see you next week on Money Lessons.